Welcome to Senior Circuit. My name is Ashley Speliotis. I'm the Director of the Council on Aging, and today we're joined by Keith Adams, the Director of Protective Service at Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services. And we recently had someone from Elder Services join us on the program to talk about in-home counseling, but Elder Services is such a large organization. Why don't you remind everybody about Elder Services and specifically about Protective Services, which we're here to talk about today.
So at Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services, we have tons of services, including home delivered meals, homemaking, transportation services, home delivered meals, just all kinds of, the list goes on. It's huge. We have a adult foster care program, and of course protective services.
Yeah, exactly. I always like to say, and the folks at home might remember me saying that at the Council on Aging we really work to get people out of their homes and into our centers, but a lot of your programs at Elder Services are to help people age successfully inside of their homes.
Exactly.
Right? And some of the home care services, some of the homemaking or helping shower or food shopping, help to let people successfully live in their own homes as they age. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's a smaller division, we should say, called Protective Services that maybe people haven't encountered before or don't know too much about. So what exactly does Protective Service do?
So Protective Services, we investigate and do assessments of people who are reported for any kind of abuse. So abuse, neglect, or exploitation of anybody who's over the age of 60 years old who resides in the state of Massachusetts. Our goal in Protective Services is not like Child Protective Services. So I want to make that clear that Protective Services really is there to try to help people stay in their homes as long as they want to, and as long as it's safe for them to do so.
Right, so it sounds like maybe somebody who you, like when you say they, you receive a report, so somebody maybe in their family or their community or even perhaps themselves might say that they are unsafe. And you know, unsafe could mean a lot of different things, but what are some types of things that would happen in the community that would make somebody unsafe at home?
So we get a lot of reports for different things and people can self-report. You can report yourself, and your neighbor can report you, the police can report you, the emergency medical technician, hospital, social worker, just about anybody. And the kind of reports that we get are people are missing their medications, or they don't have food in their home, or their home is maybe not up to par in condition, needs a little help with cleaning, something like that. We also get reports from banks about frauds and scams that sometimes people get. Not only elders, but all kinds of people get caught up in these new scams.
Sure. So you're saying that sometimes people just find it unsafe to be at home.
True.
And sometimes people, like I think you mentioned, might be exploited.
Yes.
And that could be financially or in other ways?
Absolutely, yep. And so we get a report. What we do is it goes through a screening process. We determine whether it meets our jurisdiction and it meets our the risk level. So it has to be at a certain risk level. And once we determine that we're going to bring that case in, we send out a protective service worker. Usually they go out unannounced and they just knock on your door and they explain why they're there and provide you with a letter that explains why they're there. And then we try to connect the person with whatever services or referrals that they need, whether it's legal or they need some help with court or maybe they're being evicted, whatever the problem is, we have some sort of intervention to help.
Right. So it sounds a little bit like home services, similar but maybe more intensive or more directed to what the person is in need of.
Yes. So we are hyper focused on whatever the allegation is, whatever the risk might be, whether it's somebody's being evicted, or they having a hard time paying their rent, or they're having a hard time cleaning their house, or they are they're a little confused, or they're maybe they don't have food in their home. We get a lot of reports of that, and then we can connect them with emergency food, and we can get them on home delivered meals. There's all kinds of interventions that we can do for each different thing.
It sounds like you were saying similar to home services, but how would a person know if they want to self-refer, or if they would like to get some help for their neighbor or their family member? How would they know, or what should they look for to say, I think I should refer to protective service rather than regular home services?
So that's a good question, and it's if you see somebody who's declining, they have a change in their the way that they interact, maybe they're isolating from the community where they used to be in the community all the time, or any kind of outward physical signs of like bruising, or they just look different, maybe they've lost some weight. There could be all kinds of normal things that aren't normal, I guess, that are just that something's different or something's changed. Or it could be that the person outright just asks for help, and you're not exactly sure where to go or how to do that. You can call and report, and what you should know is no matter who reports, it's anonymous. So you can report and tell us who the reporter is, but we will never disclose who reported. The only time that we would ever disclose is to the district attorney's office, and that is for like a serious case of abuse or neglect, or like sexual abuse, something like that. And the district attorney would have to subpoena the record for us to release the information of who actually reported. Otherwise, we never disclose who the reporter is to anyone, not even the elder.
And it sounds like what you're saying is that if you're concerned about somebody and they don't meet the level of need, then what would happen?
So what happens is, if a report comes in and we determine that we're going to screen it out, if the report contains information in there that we think that they could use some sort of service to help them, we call it a screen out because we're screening it out from protective services. But what we'll really do is we'll screen it to the correct person. So we'll refer that person to home care. So the home care case managers can call and ask the elder, these are the services that we have available, and most of the services are no cost, or your insurance covers the cost. And they can provide you they can actually come out to your home and give you a full assessment of everything, every service that's available, which there are lots of them.
Yes. They can really match to maybe what you're looking for, and sometimes even what you're don't know that you need. Right?
Exactly.
And you think, oh, that might be a good idea. That might help me stay at home, even if it's not through the protective services that you offer. But June, and why you're here, is because June is Elder Abuse Awareness Month. Did I get that correctly?
Yes.
And there's a whole month dedicated to elder abuse and the importance of it, and the importance of recognizing it. And why don't you share with everybody a little bit about what makes it important month to recognize?
So I think the biggest thing is that only 1 in 14 cases that are actually reported. So that means that 13 elders who should probably have a report reported about them, never get reported. Either people don't know that they can report it, that protective services exists, and the reason that we exist. And like I said, the reason that we exist is we're trying to keep you in your house as long as you possibly can stay there, and as long as you choose to be there. You could choose to go to some long-term care or a facility or something like that. It is very rare that protective services will take action for an elder where we would need to, like, say, get guardianship for somebody. So somebody else would make decisions for you or to place you somewhere, because that's the most restrictive option, and we're always looking for the least restrictive option.
Sure.
So nobody wants to place you in some sort of facility somewhere. That's the last option.
Yeah, but it sounds like somebody will meet with you to talk about what your goals are.
Yes.
And to say, like, oh, do you want to look into these options, but really the goal is to have people remain at home with services.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have so many services, I can't even name them all, but I mean, I can try to name some of them, but there's a ton. And literally we have services where we have elders who live at home with 24-hour care around the clock. They have aides that come in that help you with your grocery shopping, making your food, making your bed, cleaning your house, helping you shower, everything, so that you can stay at home instead of going into some sort of a facility.
Now, you mentioned that 13 out of 14 seniors aren't reported on. Why do you think that number is so high? Why do you think that is?
I think part of it is because you hear protective services and people automatically think of, like, child protective services, where they come in and they take the kids out of the house and then they put them in foster care until they can figure out the situation. And that's just not what we do. We just don't do that. Like I said, that's last resort. I think people are just afraid. And then I think the other thing is that people just don't know. They just don't know that you can call and make a report about somebody, and somebody will come and check on that person. That elder will come and check it out and see what's going on, and make sure that they have whatever services that they need, or will at least offer them. So elders do not have to accept any service, even if it's protective services offered. You don't have to accept it. You have the right to say no, and that's not an issue. We will try, and we might be a little forceful to try to get you to accept services, because we think it's important and we think it's helpful for you to be safer, but we can't force anybody at the end of the day.
It can be sometimes a little bit of prevention to go in and put in some services, maybe when people don't think they might not need it, but maybe those around believe that it could be beneficial to people.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine there would be kind of a lot of fear to report as well. Do you find that with, like, maybe children reporting on an older adult, or a younger person reporting on somebody older? It could be a little bit intimidating.
And I think that's part of it too. And they're worried that the elder is going to find out who filed that report. And like I said, we make sure that you're protected, so we never disclose who the reporter is. Ever, and they, that's the only way, like I said, is that the district attorney can actually subpoena the record, or a judge could subpoena the record.
Yeah, but beyond that, it sounds like you have people helping through different processes. Like you mentioned a few times, somebody who might be getting evicted would be a potential referral.
Exactly. Yep.
Or maybe somebody who has gone through some type of scam. Would that be a different?
Yes, but we would help them secure their bank accounts, get new debit cards. We could possibly we have a money management program where they could help you pay your bills if you're having an issue with that. pay your rent. We have rep payee program and money management program. Two very similar programs, but they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we can help with all of those things, and we will make a referral for you for an attorney if you're being evicted, or if you need help with getting a restraining order, something like that. We will go to court with you. We will go to court with you on an eviction, and we will help try to fight the eviction, or try to work with the housing authority or whoever it is. That it might be market rate, it might be regular, a regular apartment. It doesn't have to be housing authority, it can be anybody. And we will do whatever we can to preserve your housing.
And so you work primarily with people in their own home, or what would you say? Like, they could live with other people, they could live on their own. Do they have to be owners or renters?
No, it could be anybody. Our jurisdiction covers everybody who lives in the community. We even do some investigations or assessments in facilities, assisted living facilities, or short-term rehab. We will do some. The abuse has to be coming from somebody who's in the community, who has some sort of relationship with the elder. So, in other words, we do not investigate if it's an elder who's being abused by someone at assisted living facility who works for the assisted living facility. So that falls under the Department of Public Health.
Right. So it's kind of finding the right person to report to. And would Elder Services be able to help with that, or what's the process of reporting, I should ask?
So if they report and it comes to us and we determine that it doesn't meet our jurisdiction, we forward that report minus the reporter's information to the correct place, wherever that might be, whether it's DDS, Department of Mental Health, Department of Public Health, whichever agency it falls under, we would forward it to them. It might even fall to the AG's office, in certain circumstances.
And how would a person go about filing? If they, were aware of your agency, would they just call? Is that how you file a report, or can you do it online?
So yes, you can do it online. You can go to mass.gov and put in elder abuse. It will take you right to there's a link there that you can click to report online, or you can call 1-800-922-2275, and you can talk with a live person, and they will put in all the information for you, so you don't have to type it. You don't have, if you're not tech savvy, you can just talk to somebody on the phone, and they'll take care of everything for you.
Right. And even would you say to ask questions or to run it by them, or do you think a report would be generated and then you would contact them?
So yeah, you can file a report if you're worried. If you want to talk to somebody, you could call Somerville-Cambridge Elder Services and ask for the Protective Services Department. There's always someone on call between 9 and 5 that will answer your call. You can call me. We will walk you through the process. We'll explain to you why it would or wouldn't, be a good place to report, or we could send you to the right department to because maybe the person just needs services, and that could be an easy fix, and they wouldn't really need like Protective Services coming to knock on their door.
Right, because Elder Services has an entire department, right, like their intake department, so sometimes it can be complicated for people, or really questioning, like you shared with us all the signs of elder abuse, but sometimes it seems similar to just aging and concerns we have, and sometimes the intake department is a good place to start.
It's a great resource because they can connect you with all of the services that we have, and then they have connections to everything else. Like if you were looking for a long-term care facility, somewhere to go, they have all of those. They knew which ones are the good ones, which ones are not so good. They have all that information.
And they can connect you and see, really, like you've been saying, of your goal of staying at home and aging well in the community.
Exactly.
Right? And that's really what June is about, is to kind of promote that this service is out there for people, and that protective service is, I mean, I would say a big part of what you do for sure,
Yes.
and a good part of what Somerville-Cambridge Elder Service does as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for bringing awareness to the different types of elder abuse that could be going on and how to report in our community. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.